We're going to put all the information we've learned into this lesson about phase shift, period, and amplitude. We're also going to talk about frequency. So this is more or less a review of those three topics, plus a discussion about frequency. Remember that for standard form of a trig function, we have a sine of bx plus c plus d, or a cosine of bx plus c plus d. Now you can have tangent and the rest of them in these forms. Just remember that only sine and cosine have amplitude. The others really don't have an amplitude. The a will stretch the graph or shrink it vertically, but that's not the same as amplitude. Anyways, we're going to be looking at sine and cosine for this lesson. Example 1, we have f of x equals 2 minus 4 cosine of 2 pi over 3x. The question is, what is the amplitude, period, and phase shift of f of x? Now, I've already gone in great detail about each of these topics, so I'm not going to review all of that stuff in as thorough as I did. You can go back and watch those videos, and feel free to ask me any questions about that. Step 1 is convert your trig function to standard form. So we want to look like a cosine of bx plus c plus d, so we can figure all of this stuff out. Well, notice first of all the 2's in front. That's a constant number. It needs to be added to our function. So we're going to move the 2 over, so it'll be plus 2, and now we have negative 4 cosine of 2 pi over 3x plus 2. The second thing that I notice is there's no c value here, so we're just going to add 0 there. Now we can see that a is negative 4, b is 2 pi over 3, the number next to x, c is the plus 0 after x, and then d is 2. You'll always have an a, b, c, and d, even if you have to fill it in. So it leads us to step 2, which is to determine a, b, c, and d, which is what I just went over. I will go ahead and allude to the fact that your frequency will be your b value. Okay, frequency is b value, so that's why I'm not going to do a separate lesson on it, because it's just so simple. But I will talk about what that means. Step 3 is amplitude. We know amplitude is the absolute value of a, and since a is negative 4, we know the amplitude of this graph is going to be 4. Step 4 is to find the period. I did make a mistake here. I don't know if you noticed that. It should be absolute value, even though we're going to get a positive number anyways. But we need to do absolute value just to be thorough. So since we're dividing by 2 pi over 3, we end up multiplying by the reciprocal and writing 2 pi over 1. The 2 pi's cancel. In fact, I'll do that with my, I'll mark that. And we get the period is absolute value of 3 over 1. Should be careful here, which is just 3. So that means the graph repeats itself every 3 units. Next we have phase shift, which we know is negative c over b. I've already told you that if you don't remember that, you can always just set what's in the parentheses equal to 0, and you're going to see that x equals 0. But you can write the formula out either way. Since c is 0, you're going to get the phase shift of 0, so the graph doesn't really shift from its initial position. Now I do want to talk about frequency and what that means. Well, we'll look at the graph first. So here's just a confirmation of everything we just figured out. We can see that the amplitude is 4. It strays 4 units from the middle, from the top and bottom. We can see the period is 3. It takes 3 units for the graph to repeat itself. We can see that there's no phase shift. Now that's kind of confusing because cosine usually is pointing up right here, right? However, if you think about it, the crest or the crest or the bottom of the wave the crest of the wave is at 0. I guess you say the bottom of the wave. If it was actually shifted, for example, then the middle of the graph would be at 0. So this kind of illustrates the point that phase shift is really applicable when you're talking about electricity and when they have exactly the same periods and frequency. We kind of use it loosely when we do trig functions, when we add like a vertical stretch, for example, and we flip it, it looks different. But technically this has no phase shift, even though it kind of looks like it does. Now let's talk about frequency. So frequency, I said, is just the b value. So let's look at the b value, 2 pi over 3. So we know that pi is around 3.14, right? So if I were to estimate what this is, the pi would more or less cancel with a 3, and the frequency would be around 2. Now what the frequency means is how many cycles the trig function has over a period of 2 pi, or over a distance of 2 pi. So let's just suppose, for example, that from -3 to 3 is 2 pi, right? I mean, it's 6.28, so that's about right? We can see that indeed the graph does repeat itself twice over that period of 2 pi. So again, the frequency is how many times the graph repeats itself over a distance of 2 pi. And as we can see here, our estimation is close. It does it about twice of a period of 2 pi. So all you have to do is look at the b-value to figure out frequency. And that's it for this example of amplitude, period, phase shift, and frequency. If you have any other questions about this, let me know.